The story of Moses parting the Red Sea is one of the most powerful moments in the entire Bible, a breathtaking display of faith, deliverance, and the unstoppable power of God. It is more than a miracle story. It is a story about freedom, trust, courage, and the faithfulness of God even when hope seems impossible. For generations, the people of Israel lived as slaves in Egypt. What began during the time of Joseph as a place of refuge had become a place of suffering. A new Pharaoh rose to power who did not remember Joseph or care about the history of Israel. Fearful that the Israelites were becoming too numerous, Pharaoh oppressed them with harsh labor and cruelty. Day after day, the Hebrew people cried out beneath the weight of slavery, building cities and monuments under the burning Egyptian sun. Their suffering was deep, but God had not forgotten them. In a time of despair, a Hebrew child was born under a terrible decree. Pharaoh had ordered that every Hebrew baby boy be thrown into the Nile River. To save her son, his mother placed him in a small basket and hid him among the reeds of the riverbank. By divine providence, Pharaoh's daughter discovered the child and raised him within the royal palace. She named him Moses. Though raised as an Egyptian prince, Moses never forgot his people. One day, after witnessing an Egyptian beating a Hebrew slave, Moses acted in anger and killed the Egyptian. Fearing Pharaoh's punishment, Moses fled into the wilderness of Midian. There he lived many years as a shepherd, far from Egypt, perhaps believing his life's purpose had been lost forever. But God often prepares leaders in silence before calling them into destiny. One day, while tending sheep near Mount Horeb, Moses saw something astonishing, a bush engulfed in flames, yet not consumed by fire. As he approached, the voice of God called out from the burning bush, "Moses, Moses." Trembling, Moses listened as God declared that he had heard the cries of his people in Egypt. God commanded Moses to return to Pharaoh and lead the Israelites out of slavery. Moses doubted himself. He feared he was not strong enough, eloquent enough, or worthy enough. But God assured him, "I will be with you." Armed not with military power but with faith and the staff God had given him, Moses returned to Egypt alongside his brother Aaron. Standing before Pharaoh, Moses delivered God's command, "Let my people go." But Pharaoh's heart was hardened. Instead of freeing the Israelites, Pharaoh increased their suffering. Yet God revealed his power through a series of miraculous plagues upon Egypt. The Nile River turned to blood. Frogs covered the land. Gnats and flies swarmed. Livestock died. Boils afflicted the people. Thunder and hail devastated crops. Locusts consumed what remained. Darkness covered Egypt for 3 terrifying days. Still Pharaoh refused to surrender. Finally came the last and most devastating plague. God warned that the firstborn in every Egyptian household would die. But the Israelites were instructed to sacrifice a lamb and place its blood upon their doorposts. That night, death passed over the homes marked by the blood. The cries throughout Egypt were overwhelming. Broken and terrified, Pharaoh finally relented. After centuries of bondage, the Israelites walked out of Egypt carrying with them the hope of freedom. Families gathered their belongings quickly as they departed. There were no chains upon them now. God himself was leading them. By day, God guided them with a pillar of cloud. By night, he guided them with a pillar of fire. The people journeyed into the wilderness, but soon fear overtook celebration. Pharaoh's pride returned. Realizing he had released his slaves, Pharaoh gathered his army, hundreds of chariots, horses, and soldiers, and pursued the Israelites into the desert. Eventually the Israelites found themselves trapped. Ahead of them stretched the vast waters of the Red Sea. Behind them thundered Pharaoh's approaching army. The sound of chariot wheels echoed across the wilderness. Dust filled the air. Fear spread rapidly through the camp. The people panicked. In terror, they cried out against Moses. "Why did you bring us out here to die?" They believed they were doomed. The sea blocked escape, and Egypt's army was closing in fast. Humanly speaking, there was no way out. But this impossible moment would become one of the greatest miracles ever witnessed. Moses stood before the fearful people and declared words that still inspire hearts today. "Do not be afraid. Stand still, and see the salvation of the Lord." Then God spoke to Moses. "Lift up your staff and stretch out your hand over the sea." As Moses obeyed, a powerful wind began to blow through the night. The waters of the Red Sea divided. Towering walls of water rose on either side, and a dry path appeared through the middle of the sea. The impossible became possible. Imagine the awe upon the faces of the Israelites. The roaring sea stood frozen beside them. The ocean floor lay exposed beneath their feet. Moonlight reflected against towering walls of water. Families hurried forward. Children clung to their parents. Elders walked with trembling amazement. Every step carried them farther from slavery and closer to freedom. Behind them, Pharaoh's army continued its pursuit into the divided sea. But God was protecting His people. The pillar of cloud moved between Israel and Egypt, bringing darkness upon the Egyptians while giving light to the Israelites. By morning, the entire nation had crossed safely. Then God commanded Moses once more to stretch out his hand over the sea. The waters crashed back into place. Pharaoh's mighty army, his chariots, horses, and soldiers, was swallowed by the sea. The power that had oppressed Israel for generations was broken forever. On the far shore, the Israelites stood in stunned silence. The sea had become their deliverance. Fear turned into worship. Moses and the people sang a song of victory. "The Lord is my strength and my song, He has become my salvation." Miriam, Moses' sister, took a tambourine in her hand, and the women danced and rejoiced beside the sea. The crossing of the Red Sea was more than an escape from Egypt. It symbolized transformation. Slavery was behind them. Freedom was before them. The old life had ended. This miracle revealed profound truths about God. First, it showed that God hears the cries of the oppressed. Though the Israelites suffered many years, they were never abandoned. God's timing may not always match human expectation, but His promises never fail. Second, the Red Sea revealed that God makes a way where none exists. When circumstances seem impossible, when fear surrounds us, and when every human solution disappears, God remains greater than the obstacle before us. The sea became proof that no barrier is too large for God. Third, the miracle revealed the importance of faith and obedience. Moses did not part the sea through his own strength. He simply obeyed God's command. Often, miracles begin when faith steps forward even while fear still lingers. The Israelites themselves learned that freedom requires trust. Leaving Egypt meant walking into uncertainty. Yet God was teaching them to rely not upon Pharaoh, wealth, or worldly security, but upon Him alone. The story of the Red Sea also points toward deeper spiritual meaning. Throughout the Bible, water often symbolizes cleansing, renewal, and new beginnings. Passing through the sea marked Israel's transition from bondage into covenant relationship with God. In Christian understanding, this event foreshadows salvation through Jesus Christ. Just as the Israelites were delivered from slavery through miraculous intervention, humanity is offered freedom from sin through Christ. The Passover lamb, the crossing through water, and deliverance from death all point toward the greater redemption God would later accomplish. Yet despite witnessing such miracles, the Israelites still struggled with doubt during their wilderness journey. They complained when food was scarce. They feared enemies ahead. Again and again, they forgot the miracle of the sea. And perhaps that is one of the most human parts of the story. People often forget miracles once storms return. But God remained faithful. He provided manna from heaven, water from rocks, guidance through cloud and fire. Even when His people stumbled, God continued leading them toward the promised land. The story of Moses parting the Red Sea continues to resonate across generations because it speaks directly to the human condition. Everyone faces Red Sea moments. Moments where fear rises. Moments where the future seems uncertain. Moments where we feel trapped between impossible circumstances. Yet the story reminds us that God specializes in making paths through impossible places. Sometimes the sea does not part immediately. Sometimes the night feels long. Sometimes faith must stand still before the miracle comes. But the same God who parted the waters still moves in powerful ways. The Red Sea stands forever as a symbol of hope. Hope that chains can be broken. Hope that fear does not have the final word. Hope that no darkness is greater than the power of God. And perhaps the greatest lesson of all is this. The God who led His people through the sea is still able to lead people through life's storms today. He still brings freedom. He still guides the lost. He still makes a way where there seems to be none. And just as the Israelites stood safely on the far shore watching the sunrise after a terrifying night, many people discover that the place they thought would destroy them becomes the very place where they witness the faithfulness of God most clearly. The Red Sea miracle is not simply ancient history. It is an eternal reminder that with God, impossible paths can open before us, fear can give way to faith, and deliverance can arrive even at the edge of overwhelming waters.